Hi, this is a re-recording of the Brisk session that I gave at the Technology Skills and In-Service. It is a conglomeration of both the Brisk professional development and one given by Eric Kurtz, kind of brought together. Brisk is an AI multi-tool that's used online to give us a whole bunch of cool teacher resources. I'll go ahead and get into it. And this slide deck is available at bit.ly/ntbrisk if you need to reference the file itself. Brisk is a Chrome extension that we're going to add functionality to Google Chrome. So we want to be logged in to Google Chrome in order to add Brisk. To show and unshow any extensions if you haven't used them before, this puzzle piece up here is what you hit to see your extensions. And then if you pin them and they're blue, they're going to show up on your list up top. If you unpin them, they will not show up. So we want to have those extensions pinned that we're going to use all the time, that we want to make sure we use. As a side note, extensions use memory in Chrome. So we don't want to have every extension in the world on and installed and active in our browser if we're not using them. So make sure that you take out and deactivate extensions that you're not actively using to make sure that you have the memory that you want to when you're using your computer. One of the first extensions I wanted to add is the Extensify extension. It allows you to easily turn on and off extensions. So if you were following along on this slide deck at the same time, you could just click on Extensify to get to the Extensify extension. If you go to the Chrome Web Store, you can just type it in. I already have it added, so my option is to remove, and it adds this Zen looking button right here that when I click that, anything I like, I can turn on and off. And it just goes away. So I wanted that, and you could see I've got a bunch that are deactivated right now. And it's a really easy way to add and open and close extensions. So the first thing I suggest you getting is Extensify. It helps you manage your extensions better. So that's number one. Then we want to go ahead and add the Brisk extension. It's at the same place. It's in the Chrome Web Store. If we go to the Chrome Web Store and just look for Brisk, and it's chromewebstore.google.com, and then you can just put Brisk in there, and then you can see my option is to remove because I already have it, and that is the Brisk icon up top because I've got it active on my computer. That's how we add Brisk. And by the way, I am obviously recording this for the purpose of if you're doing this and I'm going too fast, just stop me, add Brisk, or do whatever we're at, and then obviously unpause me again. So now that I've got it up in my Brisk toolbar, I have, because it's on, this Brisk icon that's going to show up anytime I'm at a web resource, which I obviously am on the slide deck. And that is the way I'm going to get to the tool. If you want to watch the Brisk video on how to use it, you can watch that on how to pin Brisk. I don't think I need to go through it. Once it's pinned, and I'm doing that with Extensify anyway, it's going to show up there anytime I want to use it. Now, Brisk shows up in a plethora of places. They're all online. So if I can't get to that thing online, then I can't use it. But I usually open PDFs, Google Docs, Google Slides, YouTube. All those things are things that we can open up through our browser, which means I can interact with them on Brisk. So once we get it installed at the Chrome Web Store, we'll go ahead and move on from there, and I'll assume that you've got that installed at this point. So once I say I want to Brisk something, then I have options to do things just by clicking on this icon right here. And you can see right now I'm using the Educator Free Edition, which is what all of us are. But if we were to add it for the school, we would see it say Brisk Schools and District Editions, which add the ability to do extra things. Most of the Brisk things I'm going to show you today, well, all the ones I'm going to show you today are free tools. So Brisk lets us do a bunch of different things that helps us with curriculum, feedback, differentiation, tons of things that we're going to take a look at that Brisk will help us do. It's going to be able to interact with all these different things, all automating a lot of the tasks that we're going to look at. So as far as the things that Brisk does for us, we're going to kind of look through the list, but then we're going to play with them all as well. So it's really easy to use. It allows us to do everything all in one place by just hitting that Brisk button. It will allow us to pick grade levels, do different kind of feedback, personalized resources from any website that we want to work on. So it's a great way to enhance the thing we're doing at the current time without doing a lot of extra work. So as it shows on this slide, resources, quizzes, lesson plans, slide decks, changing reading levels. We can do AI chatbots on a particular subject if we want to allow our students to interact with them. All those things through the Brisk Teaching one. So this is an example of a website, the Britannica website, where we're looking at something that for what Brisk says is a college level reading text, and it's got a lot of words that maybe are hard for our students, and we can go and pick and change the reading level by simply going on and saying that we want to change the reading level of that site. So if we go and Brisk a site, we say we want to change the reading level. What Brisk does really, it can't change the website we're looking at. It opens up a Google document and it copies the items from that and changes it to whatever level we would like that to be in. It also translates languages. If we have foreign language students, we could do that as well, although we know here at National Trail we have very few, if any. However, the ability to change the reading level is very, very simple, and you can see how easy that is right there. So that's number one. And it says, for instance, on this particular text that it currently is at a university reading level, i.e. it's too much for most of our students, and I want to change this to a reading level that works for my students. All I have to do is pick the grade level and hit change reading level. Now here's the problem. This particular site failed, and I wanted to point this out for a reason because there's a way around it. But if I go to a site like this one that's embedded with a whole bunch of different chapters and a table of contents, it has a hard time knowing what part of the site you're on right now when I go to change the reading level. If you have something like that happen to one like this because it doesn't necessarily know, well, I'm just talking about this section right here that I want to do. I don't want to do the entire page. So it's actually relatively easy. All you have to do is highlight the text you want to change. And then when you hit change reading level, it does it without any problem whatsoever. So it moves it to a Google document and it changes all the text that I had highlighted. So if you ever have one that is an issue, try highlighting the text that you want to change the reading level on that particular text for. So the Brisk Teaching tool allows us to use all these curriculum things to some extent or another. There's more than 23 resource options now because as the point of this podcast was not an option and now it is an option when you go to it. So you can do all of these things by just clicking the Brisket button when we're looking at a particular website. We can level the text. We can create whole new lesson plans just by hitting the Brisket button. If we go to Brisk, an item, it's going to pop up and ask if we have and give us the option to add more information in here than just create a quiz on this web page. This is where we can clarify the items that we want to have it emphasize. We can say what kind of things we want it to do. You can see the drop down says what grade level, what kind of questions, how many questions before we hit the next button and tell it to brisk it and create that thing. So we have those drop downs that we can look at, but we also can't forget about this area to text, add restrictions into, which is one of the things that people find hard in AI. They have a tendency to say too little instead of too much. The more you give, when you give AI a prompt, the more you are going to be happy with the response of that prompt. So don't ever feel like you just can't say exactly what the objective is of the lesson inside the prompt right here when we're going to make questions for that particular section. Once we do say that we're going to make a quiz, we have the option to make it a Google form that we're just going to send out to students, or a Google Doc. Now, I am always going to do a Google Doc because I can edit that Google Doc and then import it straight into Moodle. So there's some things we have to do to that doc in order to fix it to be able to import to Moodle. But I want to be able to create questions that I can use over and over again, that I can modify for my IEP and 504 students. So I'm going to always do the Google Doc option. Google Form, I can still edit it, but I'm going to use it as it is. And since we're not a Google classroom district per se, that I think that unless you're doing one that's just a formative assessment, you're trying to see if they read the article or listened to the video, this one-time form usage that is much harder for you to modify in the future isn't really what I would prefer. So you can see when I did that, I got a Google Doc opened up. It says what the grade level is in the quiz. I can obviously change that so that I remember what it's for, because as I do these, it's just going to keep naming them very generically. So I might put American Revolution quiz. So I've got all of this on here that I can then edit to create an import file for Moodle. Or like I said, I can have it create a Google form that I can just send out and it will automatically do it. Now, I'm going to say before I move on, this whole rate the response thing is important because AIs learn to do things better based on our inputs to the AI on how they did in the first place. If you never rate things and you never give any feedback, then the AI will not improve as much as it could if you did. So I highly recommend, particularly if it was really good or really bad, to make sure that you rate it when you go. This is a slide from Eric Kurtz talking about the Bionic Educator, which he gives a really cool presentation on. The point that it's making is that these tools are not to replace you, but to make you that much more effective in what you do on a daily basis. So Brisk isn't about taking over your job as a teacher, it's making you a better teacher. And I think going forward with AI, the difference in the students that we put out and the employees of the next 5 years, maybe 10 years, are that the successful ones are going to be ones that are not afraid to use AI to enhance what they do, because in many ways AI is going to change the way we do a lot of things, and employers are going to want our students to know how to use AI so that they will get a more efficient and productive employee in the end. Enough said. So one of the things it can also do is create whole lesson plans on, you can go to an empty Google Doc and say, make a lesson plan on whatever, and it will just fill out the Google Doc. You have to be on a web item to use the Google thing, but it doesn't have to be a full one. You can start from zero and have it build everything you want it to do for a particular purpose. This is a lesson plan, obviously, based on that information. And it goes through and gives a bunch of recommendations. Again, you're the expert and you'll be the one going through here and deciding, do I really like that? Is that going to work as well as I think? It goes through, you can see it's got hooks. what the direct instruction is, what the guided practice is, what the independent is, how I'm going to close this lesson when I'm done. It's actually quite amazing. Now, I know a lot of teachers already have theirs. I've already got lesson plans on all these. I've been teaching this for 25 years. And that is very, very possible that that's the case. However, it gives us an easy way to modify things we're already doing to improve things. Not always an improvement. You may be like, no, mine's better. Um, but in many ways, most of us at a small district like ours have no one else that teaches fifth grade social studies, sixth grade math. You got one person, and you can talk to another math teacher, you can talk to another teacher in your grade level, but there is nobody that you can just sit and bounce ideas off of that teaches what you teach. And not that the AI teaches what you teach, but it can give you a lot of really good ideas of how I could modify what I'm doing. It also has the ability to boost activities, and that's one of the things that it's called boosting them, to add character chats, people you can debate with, someone you can brainstorm ideas off of, and that's what this is on the right-hand side. It is a brisk boost that you can create so that students can talk to a character from a story or a tutor, which is what this one is, so that if they're having problems, every student can't ask every question that they have every second of the day. I've got one student in my hardware class that if I let him ask questions all the time, which he tries to do, I have to limit him to 3 questions or 2 questions in a class period, because every time I say something, he's asking a question. And frankly, we don't have time for that. But with AI, you certainly do. So when we're at an activity, we can just say, hit the boost student activity in the boost pop-up. And that's where we have these items that we can add to. We can add a tutor, a hook, a character chat, a brainstorm. You can see all those things that we can experiment with. Those are the engagements. They have assessments, and then they have writing things that we can do through Brisk as well. So all those things are options that we have inside any activity that we might want to add. If, for instance, we wanted to add a character chat for a particular website, we can hit the boost button, click character chat, and then basically what happens is we get a QR code that we can share, and you can make this ahead of time and have this posted in your Moodle class. You can see that it has the link right here. You could copy that link and say chat with whoever the character is that I made at this particular activity, Paul Revere. And then when they click on that, they go into a chat activity with that person. On our side, we have a control panel that we can see not only who logged in and did the chat, how far did they get, how often did they talk, and what kind of questions did they ask. And it shows us a progress along with the chat, and we can see what the conversation was. We can see everything that both the AI said and the student asked in this chat. So you could open up a chat, have a 15-minute activity where, hey, everybody needs to ask Paul Revere about his ride, and specifically you need to find out why he did what he did or whatever our objective is. And then you can see all the students talking and see which ones are actually interacting with the student. So in this case, the character chat was Paul Revere. It starts out like this on the student side, and then they are just talking with the student. And you can see voice to text works. So if you've got IEP students and they're going to use their headset and they want to talk to them, you can play it so they don't have to read it right there, and they can hit the mic button so they can go back and forth and actually talk to the character. I will not tell you that the voices are great because they don't actually know the voice of Paul Revere, so it's not going to sound like Paul Revere. It's going to sound like a teacher talking as Paul Revere, and you don't even actually get an accurate sex of the character. It doesn't know that Paul Revere's a man and, hey, make it sound like a guy from the Civil War era. It doesn't do that. At least it doesn't do it yet. So as they're making the conversation and having that conversation with the character, and it's too bad it doesn't say Paul Revere here. It says Brisk boost, which I'm hoping that they change that. But as we do that, we can see the progress and we can see the conversation that's happened from the teacher panel of this character chat, which makes it safer for us because we get to see everything that's going on the side of it. You can also have it do a debate on, for instance, debate whether we should have broken away from England or should we have stayed a Commonwealth and been like Canada, where we're all, in Australia, where we're really kind of sort of part of the British Empire. And you can have, hey, debate on whether we should have broken away from England at the time. So that's what that is. So um, the big point here is that we get tons of personalization that we can't get otherwise with that conversation. So here's another one. The rate of climate change has changed. How much has the climate changed in the last few years? And I can have a debate with my student on whether climate change exists, whether we're going to Mars, whatever my class is starting on. So this one starts out in the debate about climate change. One side says human activity, blah, blah, you get the idea. So you can have a student debate on whether climate change is real, and Brisk can do that. We can also use Brisk as a tool to see how they're writing. Now, this in particular requires us, when we want to use this inspect writing tool, to have the student write as a Google Doc and give us full permission on the Google Doc. So not only do they have to share it to you to read, they have to share it to you to be able to write to and able to get full access to what I'm going to show you. So, but you can monitor how they write. So if they do that and you hit the tool to see how they wrote, we actually can see how they wrote, and we can give feedback, and it will give us AI generated feedback that we can edit, obviously. But how much time do we have to read everything? Whereas if we use AI to assist us, we have time to give feedback real time as students are writing right inside their Google Doc. Again, we have to have the ability to edit, and it has to be a full shared permission on that, but we can have it generate feedback for the student as they're writing it. This, whatever, you've said something right, you've grammar is wrong, whatever. That's one of the feedback tools that it can do on a document as the students are writing. We can have it inspect the writing. This is where we're looking at whether they cheated or not. If we use the expect writing tool, we can see whether they typed it. In this case, it says how long they spent, how many edits they did, and how long they took to write this. If they used AI and just pasted it into their Google Doc, we will immediately see it shows how many pastes were made and how long it took. If there's one edit and one paste, they didn't write it in the doc. And that's one of the things that we can do is we can require them. You have to do all your writing in the Google Doc. You have to open it up and share it with me, name it correctly, and we can do that with, by the way, with just making the share a copy on using Google Drive as a share and putting it on Moodle as a link so that they automatically open the one we started them with, and then they immediately share it to us, and that's the file that they're going to be doing. And if you don't know how to do that, that's a separate kind of discussion that I'm more than happy to show you how to do that. So this is the inspect writing tool on Brisk. So again, they have to give you access. You could open up, this is an example of one that was given to me. I can open up the document. I can hit inspect writing. He did have eight pastes, but that's where he took stuff, edited it, and put it back in. But in general, you can see at 1,100 edits, and it took him 38 minutes. And if I hit play on this, it actually looks like the student did the writing on it because I can watch them as they're typing. It does it really fast, by the way, when you hit play, but you can slow it down and you can stop it. But I can see that he was actually typing the document in question and then edited it, put his name back up top. He didn't really do the MLA right, but that's beside the point. So that's one of the tools that Brisk adds for us. And I know that it has been a growing concern of how do I know if they're cheating? This is one of the ways that we can make sure that they're actually writing the things that we want them to write. So we talked about the things that it can do. It can make quiz questions. It can make lesson plans. It can make Google Slides for us. It can generate that writing feedback like we just did. We showed us how to change reading levels for students, how to monitor writing access, and how to create those AI chatbots. All those things are just a drop in the water of what Brisk really can do. And I can't go through every single thing. I'm trying to hit the highlights for you. Playing with it is the best way. So this is on creating a Google slide on what I want to do. So I just open up a presentation, a blank presentation to create a Google slideshow. I say add slides, and then I tell it the subject. And I can be in this video example that you're looking at, they put one word in there, the word chameleon. I obviously could be way more restricted, talk about chameleons in Africa and specifically those that are poisonous or something, and then hit it. It's making a Google slideshow. It's adding visualizations and images, and I can do that. And then obviously it's mine. I can edit it, change whatever I want. But what a great first step to get us started on things. And I can do that from almost anything. So you can, to create instructional materials, you can start with any article, web page, YouTube video, document, or PDF, or in this case, even blank document or blank slides to do that. So it adds those powers. If I open up with a blank document, all I have to do is say I'm going to do a lesson plan for what grade, how long I want the lesson plan to be, and then I say, again, the prompt is important. If I say English, what am I going to get? Okay. If I talk about grammar specifically on how to use prepositions, then it's going to give me on that. So you need to be specific. If you don't like the response, delete it, try over again. But the more information you give it, the better. So if I go and say, I want to do a lesson plan on something, then, why did I point this out? If tons of people are using it at the same time, you can get blocked. And that's what happened to me in this one. I did too many lesson plans in too short a time as I was building this presentation, and I ran out of usage. And the only way, first of all, I don't know that any normal user is gonna have this happen to them. I did tons of them in a short period of time because I was getting this presentation ready. So you could hit this if you're not paying. And again, we're looking at the paid option. I've already requested a quote on this to see what it looks like. So I click a resource. I say what I want, write a document explaining what PC system RAM is, how it is defined. I can go the whole thing. So this is to build a reading resource for them. In my particular topic, things change every single year. And I did, when I first came here, I had a textbook. That textbook was out of date within 3 years of me purchasing it. And I found that I could generate online stuff better. I was using websites then. Now I can use generative AI and regenerate it every year to see if anything changed. So this is my input on a blank Google Doc. It wanted and did a huge detailed thing, but I wanted more detail. So in order to, because it didn't give me as much as I wanted, so I said, I want more detail. So that's what the make longer button does. So I hit more detail and make longer because I wanted it to be the book portion of my entire chapter 5 for the class. So I hit those, and then it rewrote it all. But here's the thing, Brisk went, and this is where I jumped AIs here. Brisk went and added more information at the bottom instead of rewriting the whole thing, which made it really kind of hard to read. So I took this whole thing that Brisk made and uploaded it and linked it into ChatGPT, because ChatGPT you can link with another document. So I linked it to that document in Google Docs, and I said, please organize it so it does not repeat information, is more structured for my 9th grade students. I want it broken into sections. I wanted to remove or not remove any information, but expand on any information where needed. So I wrote that whole prompt in there, and I got a way better rewrite of the same information Brisk just gave me, but now I've got it better organized on my thing. So now I've got this document that I've created as my text for this chapter on RAM. And I want to create questions for this chapter based on the reading that I've just assigned them. And by the way, I'm going to do this reading. I'm going to have something else read it for them so they can listen to it as well. But now I'm going to go ahead and Brisk it, and I'm going to go ahead and create more stuff. So I've gone ahead and said create questions, and then it's going, oh, no, I did the guided notes. I'm sorry. I went and said, you know what? I've got this. Now I want to have a guided note that I'm using this one right here. That based on this instruction and based on this reading, I want to give a guided note worksheet to all my students to fill out as I'm going. So I have it in here. I hit guided notes, and then it created guided notes for this section that I'm going to have them do, because I want them to make sure they're reading it, so they have to fill out this worksheet as they're reading through the information on that one. I didn't do it on this. I could have just as easily done the quiz one to create questions over this. You can see all the resources that are available to us. I can make guided notes. I can make a unit plan. I can make a lesson plan on this information and say, hey, it's going to cover, in this case, this section covers 4 days. I'm going to do it over this many days and this many minutes. I can create quizzes, rubrics, all those things, all these activities. And again, podcast isn't on this one. I can create right off of that one. So I've added all those things that I can add. And the greatest thing about it is I'm adding them by going bunk and one click add those things to my class and the things that I'm doing in my class. At this point, I'm done with kind of the Brisk intro. And I really want you to take some time and play with it and see what it can do for you in your class by opening up a Google Doc and creating a lesson plan or a document based on what your class is doing right now. I do want to show that extra feature that's been added since I built this class, and that is the podcast. So I'm going to go to what I'm doing. I'm actually watching this video on how to make an Ubuntu machine join Active Directory, and I know most people don't know what I'm saying, but if I go and say, don't need to listen to them, if I go and hit the Brisk button and I create a podcast, this podcast, I wish I could do the longer one. There's no way this is going to cover it. I'm going to do it university level just to see what it does, and I'm going to hit Brisket, and it's going to create a 1 to 2 minute podcast. And a university means advanced level. I'm doing this podcast so I can listen to a summary of it, and it's going to go and create a podcast. Again, I can only go up to 2 minutes. With the free version, it goes up to 10 minutes. I think it was 10 minutes on the paid version. If I go in and do a podcast for the university version, I can up to 10-minute podcast. So this is the free, this is the individually paid, and this is how long, if we buy it as a school, we can do it. And you can see, not only can I do that, I can pick what grade level I want them to be talking at, and they change their vocabulary and how they talk when they do this. So here's my thing. It just finished going, and it's 1 minute and 22 seconds long. It's not going to cover this whole thing.
Welcome to today's Tech Exploration podcast, where we're diving deep into Linux system administration and domain integration.
That's right, Maria. Today we're unpacking the fascinating process of joining an Ubuntu.
Okay. No one really cares about that. But the point is, not only does it create a podcast with the transcript, it lets me edit it. So if I want to go ahead and change what they said, I can just go and change it, and then it will regenerate the audio file, and I'll have a different audio file based on how I changed their podcast and what they said. So maybe I don't like what they talked about, maybe I do, but this is the only tool I found that I can edit the transcript and regenerate the podcast. When I'm done with that podcast, I can either download it and then upload it into Moodle if I want to, or which is even just as good, I can copy the link for the podcast and add just a link in Moodle. So they click on it. I don't even have to upload it into Moodle. I can click on that link and embed that link right inside my class where they can go and listen to that podcast as well. It's one of the new features that Brisk has that as of March they did not have. They're continually working on adding new features. One of the things they said they're working on next is the ability to change the voices, so I can pick who's going to talk, because I told them one of the things is a sixth grader doesn't want to listen to two adults. They probably want to listen to two kids. So can we change it so we have kid voices? And they're like, that's the idea. Anyway, that's it. That's my introduction to Brisk Teaching for everyone. Thank you for sticking with me throughout this, and please take the time to learn a little bit about Brisk and see how it can work for you.